Cheating on your diet and diet plateaus. We're going to discuss dieting plateaus. You're probably pretty familiar with it if you've ever tried a diet or tried to lose weight at any time. It's when you're trying to lose weight, you may or may not be exercising, you may or may not have the knowledge if you're carbohydrate intolerant or calorie sensitive. But if you do know those things and you have enough knowledge about it, you will figure out what to do when you have a dieting plateau. Basically, when you're losing weight, and then all of a sudden you come to a point where you seem to just stop losing weight.
Yeah.
And we'll discuss the shirt a little bit later. I'm cold, me 24/7. We'll get to that later. But right now, I just want to kind of get into this video about dieting plateaus and cheating. There are so many reasons for a weight loss plateau. Why would you think they're hard to deal with?
Well, I think it is not only a chemistry problem or a metabolic problem, but it's also a psychological one.
Yeah.
And when you're losing weight and you suddenly stop, what would the average person think? Yeah. They would think, well, I got to eat less.
Yeah.
And then I'll get started again. Well, unfortunately, as we talked in a previous video, the less you eat, the less you consume, the more your body sees that as a state of starvation. And when it does that, it produces powerful hormones that are designed to slow your metabolism, put you in a state of pseudo-hibernation in order to survive what it perceives as a famine. And that's the last thing you want when you're trying to lose weight.
Yeah. And so is that where cheating on your diet comes in?
Sort of. In order to understand why we insist on cheating, and I'm going to tell you how to do that, because how you do that makes all the difference in the world. But here's the concept behind it. Your metabolism is very adaptable. So whatever you do to it, if you do it for long enough, it simply says, okay, this is the new deal. So if you're eating 1,400 calories a day and you're losing weight, and your body accepts 1,400 calories as the new normal. If you increase that to any extent, you will temporarily gain weight because your body sees 1,400 calories now as normal. The second issue with metabolism is complacency. In other words, the metabolism is kind of like a lazy old guy, right? And it takes the law of least resistance or the path of least resistance every time it can. So if you're on 1,400 calories or 1,200 or whatever, and your body becomes used to that, it becomes complacent. And it says, okay, this is the new normal, so there's no reason to lose any more weight because this is the norm.
Yeah.
And we don't lose weight when it's normal.
Yeah.
So what we found out that we need to do is we need to trick, shock, disrupt, disturb the metabolism. Because then it gets all excited like that and it says, oh, here we go again. And it jump starts back into gear. One of the ways that we do that is through what we call specific cheating. Now, like most diet programs say, oh, you can't cheat. And if you cheat, you're just weak-willed and you're not serious. And I love diet programs and diet centers and diet counselors who end up blaming the client.
Yeah.
Well, it's all your fault. If you weren't so weak-willed, if you really wanted this, you wouldn't have all these problems. Well, sometimes that's true, obviously. And we're going to do an upcoming video on the psychology of weight loss, because it's a huge thing that people don't realize. But anyway, so we use cheating. Now, when people think of cheating, they cheat out of guilt, right? Because they know they're not supposed to, or they think they're not supposed to.
Yeah.
And so when they do, they feel guilty. So most people, when they cheat, they do called the sneak and nibble method. That's what I call it.
Okay.
Sneaking and nibbling. So somebody's at work, right? And they got these candy nuts in the desk drawer.
Uh-huh.
And they get this craving for something sweet because their blood sugar's too low, because they're not doing that right. But anyway, that's for another day too. So they open that drawer and they just have 2 or 3 nuts. No big deal. How many calories could that be? How big a problem could that be?
But if you keep doing that, it's going to elevate your...
Exactly. So they have 2 or 3 nuts 8 or 10 times a day. And so what they've done is they've successfully raised their blood sugar levels and their insulin response.
And they kept
all day long.
Yeah, and it kept it there.
And it keeps it there all day long. And then in a day or two, they open that drawer and all the nuts are gone.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest problem. And that's the way most people cheat. Okay? Because they're guilty. Well, if nobody sees me have just a couple, it won't hurt.
And so if they would have done something like took your test on your website where you can personally score yourself and find out if you're carb intolerant or calorie sensitive, you would actually know if that might be your problem. And then nutritionally, you could do something to help that craving.
Yeah, we can do supplements to help control those cravings.
Yeah.
So, that being the case, let's talk a little bit about how to cheat properly. So on our program, the first 4 to 6 weeks, no cheating is allowed.
Okay.
And if you can't live 4 to 6 weeks on a strict diet, then you're not fat enough yet. Simple as that. You don't care.
And so you're breaking down how to cheat correctly.
Yes.
Okay.
After the 4 to 6 weeks, you can cheat 1 day, 1 meal per week. So let's say you're going to pick Saturday night. Whoopee, you're going to go out to dinner, and you don't want to count calories, you don't want to count carbs, you just want to have a good time. Well, then that would be your cheat meal. And for 2 hours, 2-hour window, during that meal, you can eat anything and everything you want.
Yeah.
So let me repeat that. No restrictions. You can eat anything in any amount of anything you want. At the end of 2 hours, you're done.
Yeah.
You go right back the next morning or the next meal, right back on your program. What this does is it shocks the metabolism, because all of a sudden it gets a rush of things that it didn't have before.
Yeah.
It gets higher calories, higher carbs, higher everything, and it gets all excited and it starts going back to work again.
No.
It wakes up. The key is to do it within a 2-hour window and do it only once a week, at least in the beginning. The longer you go on a program, the closer you get to your ideal weight. You can actually have 2 or more cheat meals a week without any problem at all.
And I learned, whenever you helped me lose my 60 pounds, I learned that if I did that and did it before 8 p.m., I actually got better results. Is that...
Well, yeah, sure.
But that's just everyone's different.
Yeah, but most people,
have dinner at 9 or...
Yeah, and that's a big problem for lots of people.
Yeah.
Simply because your metabolism's slowing down for the evening.
Yeah.
When the sun sets, your body starts to go alkaline.
And then if you're over 50, it's even a little slower.
That's right.
Yeah,
and
we'll do that in a whole
And then
other
you're
video.
eating this huge meal and then going to bed and laying on it like you swallowed a melon without slicing it.
Yeah.
So that's basically how our cheating program works. And you'll be surprised. And it works metabolically or chemically, but it's also psychological. Because at any time during your week, you know that you're never more than 7 days away from having whatever you want.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, put a sticky note on your fridge.
Yeah, you got that little reward coming.
And every time you got a craving for something, you write it down there, and you're going to have that at your cheat meal.
Yeah, make a list.
Yeah, and eat it all. all. Eat it all. And what's going to happen is that psychologically you'll be more motivated to stay with it. Chemically, you will be stimulating your metabolism, your digestive system.
Giving it variety.
Giving it change, giving it increase in consumption. All of those things help to keep it excited.
Yeah.
And not only that, but it is self-regulating. Because when you're on a program and then you're going to have your first cheat meal after 4 weeks, and you got this whole list, I'm going to have hamburgers, I'm going to have
pizza and
donuts and chocolate cake, and with 2 scoops of ice cream, forget one. And what's going to happen is after you finish that rather grotesque meal, you're not going to feel very well.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And the next time your cheat meal comes around in a week, you're going to say, I think I'm not going to have quite all that. I'm just going to have these 3 things.
Yeah.
And so what happens is after a while, because you know you can have it, you have less.
Yeah.
But the idea is that you can have whatever you want in that 2-hour period of time.
Love it. Well, I hope you guys found that informative. And now we have to discuss the real reveal of the I'm cold 24/7. Go ahead.
Well, a very good friend who I've known for many, many years gave me this because whenever we hang out together, we oftentimes sit outside or even in the house, and I'm always complaining that it's cold. And
I think many people are cold.
Oh, they are, and many people are hot.
If you're cold, leave a comment, please.
Yeah,
we'd love to hear how many people are cold watching this video.
What you do about it, besides run the heater 24 hours a day. So, and then make everybody else miserable because they're not cold. And it really is an interesting thing because it has something to do with both heredity, environment, and your genes.
Yeah.
If you were raised in a warm climate, chances are you will be more comfortable in a warm climate. If you were raised in wintry northern where it got cold, chances are you'd have a greater tolerance for the cold weather. But it's not only just environment, it's genes, it's genetics.
Yeah.
And I got them all because if it falls below 70 degrees, I'm already uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, it's like those people that come from like New York and stuff like that, and they come to San Diego and it's 50 degrees and we have
and they're going to the
on.
beach. Yeah,
and they're in the water.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so, because by comparison to what they're used to, 50 degrees is a spring day, and I talk to people from all over the country, and they say, "Well, how's the weather?" And I said, well, it's kind of chilly today. It's 58. And they start laughing and say, if we only had 58, we'd be out on the lake.
Yeah.
So it's all what you're used to, and partly your genes as well, because we've discovered that if a person is more sensitive to the cold, likely their parents were too.
Yeah.
And so it's just all an interesting chemical genetic soup that we're made of. And when I got this sweatshirt from my friend, because I'm always saying, I'm cold, I just had to wear it on a video today because it's just so darn funny to me.